Good Tuesday afternoon to you. It's 4 o'clock in time for Sports4CLE. Thanks for joining us. Hope you're having a good afternoon. NFL.com's Nick Shook with his thoughts on the additions of Zion Johnson and Titus Howard, the two new Browns offensive linemen.
What I have now termed both of these moves on the offensive line is they are aspirational acquisitions. Zion Johnson ranked 53rd out of 81 guards in the NFL last year, according to Pro Football Focus overall grade. 49th in pass blocking, 64th in run blocking. Not great. Titus Howard's grades, not much better. And also, over the course of his career, has not been consistent. But there's been times, and the Texans were, included in this, in which they thought he could take that next step and become the reliable guy that they wanted him to be. 58th out of 89 tackles last year, but 17th out of 89 tackles in pass blocking. So there's at least some upside in one department for how he plays. I believe the way that the Browns look at this now is much like how they approached the Jerry Jeudy acquisition, which obviously has not aged well, which is let's trade for this guy. We believe in his upside and his potential, and we'll reward him for that potential now so that if he does reach that potential, that contract ends up looking affordable and like a savvy move for us in the long run. Offensive line, much harder to get that done, I think, but they're desperate. So they're going to buy high on guys within the limitations of their current cap situation with the hopes that you're getting two guys in their mid-20s. You got Howard at 20, well, now almost 30, and Zion Johnson at 26, and think, all right, well, at least we can try to push this rebuild of this reconstruction of our offensive line forward with the blend of guys who, one guy with a lot of experience, one guy with a good amount of experience, and we hope that he can take that next step under the tutelage of George Warhop.
And guards, especially offensive linemen in general, guards especially, they're hard to judge, and a lot of it is absolutely dependent on the offensive line coach. So let's see how George Warhop and Todd Monken use these guys. Jonathan Jones, CBS Sports HQ, talking about the Browns quarterback situation.
Deshaun Watson is going to be in the mix. It's my belief that the Cleveland Browns are going to give Shedeur Sanders every opportunity to be QB1. And the guys at the desk who have played, you guys certainly know this, that over OTAs and minicamp and training camp, that if Shedeur Sanders, having been given all these opportunities, does not prove himself worthy of QB1 against Deshaun Watson, then he will not be QB1 under Todd Monken.
Yep, if you have a quarterback competition, if you will, Shedeur's got to do it. Deshaun Watson's got to do it. One or the other has to win the job, unless they bring in somebody, which will be interesting to see. All right, former Browns offensive lineman John Greco talking about how Zion Johnson, one of those new guards, fits with offensive line coach George Warhop.
We just need guys that are consistent, that can stay on the field and be productive, and I think that he has done that. Obviously, we talked about Zion Johnson. Obviously played left guard. We just talked about Joel, but, I like him as a run blocker, and I started talking about George Warhop. Believe me, and everybody needs to hear this, George Warhop is a guy that likes big offensive linemen that are road graders. When I played under him, it was the biggest I was in my career. Like all the guys were stout in pass protection. He likes aggressive guard pass sets where you take on the battle right at the line of scrimmage and sometimes, more often than not, you're aggressively pass setting to where you're meeting them right at the line of scrimmage, and if not, on their side of the ball. So it really firms up that pocket, and that's something that George obviously preaches. So Zion Johnson's a big body, a strong body. He's sturdy in the run game. Was really perfect in the run game, but pass protection, I think it's going to benefit him to take the action to the defensive lineman, to the three techniques, to the head-up D tackles, the nose guards, and take the fight to them at the line of scrimmage. So I'm excited to see what this offensive lineman will look like under a new regime, especially in the offensive line room.
So last night, the Browns did make another signing. They are signing former Jets linebacker Quincy Williams, 2-year deal worth $17 million. That kind of replaces the departed Devin Bush. New Browns defensive coordinator Mike Rutenberg has coached Williams before.
I go to Quincy Williams. I was in Jacksonville with Quincy, and we drafted him. Quincy and I connected from the heart, from the start. It went heart to football. And we spent a lot of time on our hearts and then a lot of time on football.
So Rutenberg familiar with the new linebacker that the Browns signed in free agency. Some of the news around the NFL today. The Raiders are sending quarterback Geno Smith and a 2026 seventh-round pick to the Jets in exchange for a 2026 sixth-round pick. Smith returns to the team that he started his NFL career with back in 2013. Also, one of the free agent wide receivers is off the market. Romeo Doubs has signed with the Patriots 4 years, $70 million, reported by Ian Rappaport. Former Browns defensive back Greg Newsome reached a one-year deal worth up to $10 million with the New York Giants and John Harbaugh, that according to Adam Schefter. Patriots are giving former Jets first-round pick Elijah Vera Tucker a 3-year, $42 million deal worth up to $48 million. The Browns were reportedly actively involved in the bidding process that the Patriots eventually won out with Elijah Vera Tucker. Also, full terms of the Michael Pittman trade are released today. The Steelers get Pittman and a seventh-round pick. Colts get a sixth-round pick. And Pittman gets a 3-year contract just under $60 million, $59 million total to join the Steelers. NFL.com's Nick Shook again, talking about what he thinks the Browns should do with that 6th overall pick in the NFL draft.
I'm going to push away from them going offensive line at 6. I know that they should still look there, but the guys that are going to be available, when you compare them against where they're picking, where the Browns are picking, I just don't think the juice is worth the squeeze at 6 because Maunoga's probably not going to be there. And I wouldn't take, the Utah kid. I wouldn't go after really anybody else at 6. I would wait until the teens, 20s, that sort of thing. So if you're looking at 6 and you're looking at best player available, you know you have needs on both sides of the ball. Do you value the potential best player available, regardless of position, in a guy like Caleb Downs, who could be there at 6? Or do you pivot toward need, and maybe it's a slight overreach, but you address the position that everybody in Cleveland and beyond wants you to address, which is receiver? I firmly believe that they should go after Carnell Tate at 6. And yes, I know Tate didn't run a great 40. That's fine. Guess what? Emeka Egbuka's 40 time wasn't blazing fast either. And we saw what he did when he was healthy in his rookie season with Baker Mayfield. Tate is the best contested catch maker in college football coming into the draft this year. That is indisputable. And I think that is what will immediately translate to the next level and also eliminate the need for burning speed. If you can make contested catches, and I don't care about you needing to run past a defender to get open, because you can just win the battle at the catch point. So I really value him at as high as 6.
I'm all about contested catch wide receivers for the Browns. They need one badly, and really they haven't had one, without question. We'll talk plenty more about the Browns. Fred Greetham will join us in just a few minutes. Let's turn our attention to the Cavaliers. Cavs coming off a loss to the Boston Celtics, hosting the Philadelphia 76ers at Rocket Arena. First quarter, take a look at this, a little bit of history. James Harden makes the free throw, 29,000 career points, only the 9th player in NBA history to reach that milestone. Donovan Mitchell, steal, gets the basket, and he's fouled. 3-point play. Nice move by Donovan Mitchell. Mitchell again on the drive. Little hesitation. Oh, over the defender, gets the bucket. A little bit outside now. Dean Wade. Nice ball movement. Dean Wade knocks down the open three-pointer. And the Cavs really opening it up. Here again, Keon Ellis from Wade. Ellis knocks down the three. Cavs win it 115-101. Cavs 4th in the East, trail the Knicks by a half game. They travel to Orlando to take on the Orlando Magic tomorrow night in Florida. We will step aside, take a quick timeout. Other side of the break, Fred Greetham, senior analyst for the Orange and Brown Report. We're talking Browns on Sports4CLE. Stay with us.
You got so much to do. It's got you feeling blue. Put a little flag in your day. 'Cause it's fun all over the state. So come on.
Browns are up first on Sports4CLE, a developing story with the Browns as they have announced that they have signed another offensive lineman, re-signed guard Tevin Jenkins. So the Browns add to that offensive line. Tevin Jenkins played a number of games for the Browns last year, back with the team. Let's now head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
So just want to hear your thoughts on the two offensive linemen that the Browns signed. I feel like they've overpaid for both of these guys, and I get it, it's free agency, that's going to happen. But if you look at some of these other teams that signed offensive linemen, other than Linderbaum, Cleveland is the only one who gave these guys massive extensions for offensive linemen to guys who aren't really rated that good at their own position. These two guys, 70, 80 million between the both of them. You should have just went and got Tyler Linderbaum to have you a stalwart in the center because you can move Whippler over to guard. But I know it's a position of need, but I feel like they definitely overpaid. Just want to hear your thoughts. Go Browns.
Without question, that's likely, and there's an explanation for that. Peter Schrager from ESPN says it better than I could.
There's the crappy team tax, like everyone's saying, oh, they overpaid. They're a crappy team. You have to overpay sometimes to get people to come to a crappy team. Now they're not going to be a crappy team.
Sorry, Peter.
Look at the Patriots last year.
We don't use the word overpaid. Like no player is ever overpaid. When Dominique Foxworth is on the Get Up program, we find another word other than overpaid because none of these guys are overpaid. I'm sorry.
Let's welcome in Fred Greetham, senior analyst for the Orange and Brown Report. And Fred, Dominique Foxworth was part of the NFL Players Association, which is why he is saying that, the negotiating arm of it, the executive team. They probably did overpay for these guys. And the question about the extension, it's probably what they needed to do to get them signed and, on the team.
Well, yeah, I thought when the question was being asked, by the caller, I thought I was going to answer it, but then you brought in the guys from TV, and yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, the Browns back in the day, in the early, even 99, 2000, 2001, the free agents, they basically came, you remember that, they came here to retire. They came here, got their big payday because they got overpaid, and then you never heard from them again after a year or two. I'm not saying that's how it is now, but in free agency, unless they have absolutely no suitors, you're going to have to be the highest bidder. And I heard they were in on Linderbaum, but when you're getting $27 million a year, like $9 million more than what the previous highest center was, and even the Ravens bowed out of it, that's exactly what it is. And so, especially a young ascending, I mean, Johnson is coming off his rookie contract, so those are the guys that Barry likes to get. Former number 1 pick, 26 years old. And the trade for Titus Howard was a trade. And whether he was going to agree with it or not, I don't know if he had any choice, but the Browns immediately renegotiated, so they had him under contract. So yeah, I get it, they're paying more, but when you're starting over, especially if Batonio ends up retiring, basically you're looking at 5 new starters on the offensive line, 4 if you're counting DeJuan Jones, already a starter. So you're going to have to do it, and I'm okay with it. These two guys might not be at the top of the list, but when you look at durability, I think Johnson only missed 2 games in his 4 years, and Howard about 2 or 3 in his career. And so if you followed the Browns, especially the offensive line, it's been a mash unit for the last 3 or 4 years. They couldn't keep 5 guys healthy out there. So I think that has a lot to do with it. And so, yeah, they overpaid. But if that can get them through, the Watson contract where they can go and through the draft and add another couple starting offensive linemen, then I think you can be in a stronger position as things go forward.
What do you think about the Titus Howard trade? I know you wrote an article about this. Does that allow them to not necessarily take a tackle at 6? Can they go get a wide receiver if Tate's there or Mekhi Lemon or whichever flavor of wide receiver they view as the best?
I'm a proponent that they take a wide receiver at 6 if they don't trade down, or even if they trade down, don't trade down far enough where you lose the chance to get one of those top 3 wide receivers, because I feel like that's your best place to get a blue chip wide receiver. That is, unless they don't think one of these guys are a game-changing wide receiver. And so it comes down to, I think there's a few more options at tackle, but I don't know how they have it evaluated. But to answer your question, no. The money they gave him tells me he's going to be a tackle, but he's played right tackle. The biggest need they have is left tackle. And whether they think Spencer Fano or Maligoa is the answer at left tackle, those are probably the 2 guys that would be in consideration at 6, or even Monroe Freeling, who's a true left tackle, or how much different those guys are as opposed to like the Caden Proctor or the Blake Miller from Strongsville, the guys they think they might be able to get at 24. I think you need to come out of this draft, if you stay where you're at 6 and 24, with a starting wide receiver and a starting left tackle. I don't care which direction, whatever you feel like you can do, but you got to come out of that. If you trade down and you don't pick up a blue chip player, there might only be 10, 11 blue chip type players in this draft. You got to get one of them game changer, even if it had to be on defense, even though they need offensive players. But I am not thinking at all that the Howard move, they need more guys, not that solves the problem.
So you mentioned Joel Bitonio. His contract, the void date was moved back to today. If the Browns don't come to a new agreement, they get a dead cap hit, and his contract's voided. Former Browns offensive lineman Johnny Greco, what he believes Bitonio's working through.
Regardless of what he thinks, if this is a quote-unquote transition year again, we find ourselves in kind of I guess you can call it a rebuild, but there's just a lot of uncertainty. New coaching staff, uncertainty at quarterback, plugging in a lot of different starters, especially offensively, trying to add some weapons at key positions. So Joel knows all that. I mean, he's a smart guy. He's played a long time. He sees the writing on the wall, and he can see things in that locker room. But he's loyal, and I just think the number one question for him is, does he want to put his body through a grueling NFL season and all of the preparation that it takes to play at a high level? Because he's also a prideful guy. He does not want to just take the money, go out there and look silly because he's not healthy. He wants to continue to play well and not let anybody down. So that is what I think is the number one concern and question for him moving forward and going into the season. Can he have a great relationship with the training staff and the coaches to develop a plan where they're taking care of him throughout the week? That way on Sundays he can go out and just let it fly and play well.
It'll be interesting to see. There's a couple of them that the Browns need to know about, and the date is today. When they pushed it back, I thought there was a chance. The longer it drags on, it doesn't seem like Joel Bitonio is going to – and nobody knows for sure, but I think the closer you get to that contract being voided, the more likely it is he's not going to play for the Browns.
Well, I would think the move yesterday with Johnson, he's predominantly a left guard, played the last 3 years at left guard with the Chargers. He did play right guard as a rookie, so there would be optimism, that he could flip over there. But obviously the contract he signed, he's one of your starters at guard. So the Browns have to have known what Bitonio is going to do. They said they'd welcome him back. But even after signing Zion Johnson, there was a national report that they were in on, I think, Vera Tucker, who signed with the Patriots. And that tells me that they were trying to get 2 offensive guards, because that was even after signing Zion Johnson. So that would tell me that Bitonio is, I don't think he's looking to be a free agent with another team, but that's possible as well. So they have to make a decision. They have to know, because there's some dead cap space if you don't make a move with his situation. I think that'll come to a head here if it hasn't already. It just hasn't been announced to my knowledge. But even if he were to come back, it kicks the can down the road. You still have to address it. But I do think that it would help having him one more year stability, because he was still listed as one of the top guards available in free agency, even though he's 34, 35 years old.
So you wrote an article, 5 Steps to Getting the Browns Back to Winning in 2026, and we've talked about a number of them already. Number one was solve the offensive tackle problem. They still need to add one, maybe even two, maybe even a swing tackle. Your thoughts on the offensive tackle?
Well, I think the best way to get a tackle, particularly a left tackle, is in the draft. I mean, we all know Andrew Berry's first draft, he took Jed Wills with the 10th pick, and he should be in the prime of his career, for another 5-6 years. But we all know the way that went. He was a right tackle. They tried to convert to left tackle. 3 picks later, Tristan Wirfs, who was a right tackle that the Buccaneers switched to left tackle, has been a 5-time Pro Bowler. And so the guys, a left tackle on their rookie contract is the way to go. So I really think if you can get Monroe Freeling or Spencer Fano or Maui Goa, one of those guys, or even somebody with the second first-round pick that you hit on, that's your best answer. But the only other one is in a trade. And the only guy I've heard that would be trade worthy is Walker Little. I think he was a second-round pick with Jacksonville. He was replaced when they, when he was injured, somebody took his place and played really well. So if there's somebody out there that a team is willing to move on from, like Titus Howard was, or, like Andrew Berry's done with wide receivers, that is a good way to go. That frees you up going into the draft, getting somebody that is ready to play from day one. But the best overall, probably long-term answer is to draft, your future left tackle, because we all know if a guy's available in a trade or in free agency, there's probably something with him. A good case in point, I think Rasheed Walker, the last I looked, he was still available. He's really the best left tackle in free agency, and he'll probably get paid like one of the best in the NFL. And yet he's probably in the middle of the road as a starting left tackle. So the Browns might go for him, but they'll probably again overspend. I think you're best to address that in the draft coming up. But if he can find somebody in a trade, that would be obviously the best way to go.
All right, the 2 and 3 that you had was add a top wide receiver and what to do at quarterback. They need to find if you get a top wide receiver, Jerry Jeudy slots into like the second, which is what he's more comfortable with and made for.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect maybe the top of the list like Alec Pierce, and we all know that he stayed with the Colts and got a fortune. The last I looked, I think the guy I penciled in free agency would be a guy like Romeo Doubs out of the Packers. Not at the top, but a really solid player. I still think the draft is your best way. I would like to get a veteran. If you could get a guy like Doubs and you didn't have to break the bank. I don't know his market. But again, I think at the top of the draft, you get a Carnell Tate or Mekhi Lemon or even Jordan Tyson. You have them for 5 years at a very reasonable rate compared to what you're going to pay for a free agent. Again, The best thing Andrew Berry has done at wide receiver since he's been here is in the trade market. He got Amari Cooper, had back-to-back 1,000 yards for the Browns for a 5th and 6th round pick. All he had to do was figure out how to pay him. Same way with Jerry Jeudy, figure out how to pay him. To some extent, Elijah Moore, he was on his rookie contract and then they let him go, but they got some production out of him. Probably 3 of the best wide receivers he's brought in have been in trades. So if there's a guy out there, that would be a great way to add, and then you have flexibility in the draft. I still think you need to get one at the top of the draft. I like a guy like a Brian Thomas, with Jacksonville, former first-round pick. Andrew Berry talked about him at the NFL Combine. If there's somebody out there, I don't know about an A.J. Brown. Pittman was a guy, but he got traded to the Steelers. So if they can find somebody that can step in, and I agree, Jeudy would be better in a number 2 role, I think, instead of a number 1 role. I think he's a good player, but you need to add to that room. When we talked to the offensive coordinator, Travis Schweitzer, he only mentioned Jeudy and he threw in Bond. He didn't mention Cedric Tillman, who was the starter last year. So he only mentioned 2 current wide receivers. And so they really, I think, know they need to add some. And I would add a veteran and draft at least one, not in the 3rd round. I'd like to see one in the 1st round.
I'm with you. So the other ones were what to do at quarterback. We talked about the line, the guard, and the center, and re-sign key defenders. Those are 5 steps to put the Browns back winning ways in 2025. Fred Greetham and I get step aside, take a quick time out, other side of the break. We'll talk a little bit more about the draft in the Browns. Sports for CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
We continue talking Browns with Fred Greetham, senior analyst for the Orange and Brown Report. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
The rumors on the Ty Simpson thing, they're up and down a little bit. And I'm just curious, is this the same Ty Simpson that got beat out 2 or 3 straight years by Jalen Milroe, who was a 2nd-round pick? So now all of a sudden, 1-year starter, he's being talked about as like the number 2 quarterback in the draft. And if you look at the numbers for quarterbacks who were drafted with probably less than like 20 starts maybe, they don't really work out that well. Now, I'm not saying the kid can't be good, but I don't know if taking him in the 1st round he's worthy of that. And also, I just want to hear your thoughts on Drew Aller. I kind of like the kid. I didn't expect him to be at the Combine. I didn't know how serious his injury was, but it was cool to see him at the Combine. He's got a big arm. Just want to hear your thoughts. Go Browns. Oh, oh, oh.
As always, appreciate all of the voicemails. Fred, I get it with Ty Simpson. You'd probably have to take him at 24. I don't think I'd like that. And to the caller's point, that's absolutely true. The guys with fewer than 20 starts at the college level generally don't do well. Aller's a guy I can't figure out. I saw him play a bunch in high school, and he has an NFL arm in high school. Never put it together at Penn State. Just never did, and I could never figure it out. The kid can play, and he can throw the football.
Yeah, I'll just say one thing. The last I mentioned, you can scratch Romeo Dobbs. He signed with the Patriots while in the last couple minutes. So I'm just not into drafting a quarterback unless you can get one like at the top. I don't like these developmental things. We've seen that you drafted 2 last year. If you want to take one down the road, okay, but not use one of the top, 35 picks or whatever you have. You need other weapons. There are some, if you're not sold on Shedeur Sanders, Deshaun Watson, and Dylan Gabriel, bring in, some veteran to compete. with Sanders for a backup job, or unless you feel like you can get somebody to come in and start. I saw the Jets traded for Geno Smith, so that's one team probably less to compete with for a starting quarterback. But I'm not. If you want to develop another guy, then you got 3 developmental guys on your roster, unless you're going to trade Sanders or Gabriel. It just doesn't make sense to me. Build up your offensive line, your wide receivers, your weapons with those assets. That's just my opinion. You got to make a decision. If they didn't go all in to get like a Malik Willis or somebody they really feel, or maybe Kyler Murray, then it means to me they're pretty much going with what they have. And I just don't know why you'd bring in another rookie and then you'd have like 3 of the 4 guys in the developmental stage.
Yeah, that's a fair estimation of it. This is one of the things that kind of concerns me about it. NFL.com's Nick Shook talking about the Browns quarterback situation.
It would be very Browns of them to suddenly become fascinated by a quarterback who could be a day 2 pick and maybe even sneak into day 1 first round of the NFL. But I thought maybe this regime is better than that. No, they just spent a 3rd round pick on Dylan Gabriel last year and then spent a 5th rounder on Shedeur. So I guess nothing is off the table. And then after a week in Indianapolis and watching and just kind of getting, and I thought, oh God, there's like my hunch leaning towards something legitimate. I do believe, based on their interest in him, that they are going to consider another option. I don't think it is going to be the veteran, because Deshaun Watson theoretically fills that veteran role that you are looking for in the quarterback room. I would have sent, as we talked about this and disagreed about plenty, before Kevin Stefanski was fired, I would have paired them with Kirk Cousins. Now that Stefanski's gone, that is off the table, in my opinion, entirely. And I think he heads elsewhere. So I think that the next step for them is to identify somebody in the draft. I would not feel good about the Browns spending their 2nd of 2 first-round picks on Ty Simpson. I think that would be an overdraft. If they're going to do that, you do it in day 2 at some point. But I do believe that they are not done at the position. I don't know. I really don't think at this point that they're going to go after a veteran at the position, just because the backup market, the veteran market right now at free agency-wise at quarterback is just not very strong.
And I heard the same thing. The Simpson to the Browns thing was kind of prevalent at the scouting combine, but I'm with you. I don't see how that makes sense. Just don't see it.
Yeah, it's just, we know they got to figure out the position. We just don't know. When I wrote that series before free agency, I said they would tip their hand at the quarterback position somewhat. We would know if they're not really sold on what they have. If you had rumors that they were going all in to try to get Willis, I haven't heard anything about that. We know his contract wasn't exorbitant and they could have handled that, but maybe they just made the decision, we don't want to go all in on a guy like that and burn Sanders, and because his future would be over pretty much with the Browns if they did that. We didn't hear anything about it. So I don't know if if they're investigating any of these veterans to bring in. I thought maybe Geno Smith might have been a guy, if Monken's not sold on Sanders or Watson or whoever they have now. So it's really to be determined, but I think it's a mistake to not bring in somebody. I'll just say that while we're talking about the quarterback, because I watched Deshaun Watson at Greenbrier twice, and he looked really good in training camp, and I thought he was going to be way better than he was. And if you open it up truly to competition with the current 3, he'll be your opening day starter. I'm sure he's going to look better in training camp than a Shedeur Sanders if you make it open competition, and you can't then anoint somebody and say it's an open competition. You have to make a decision what you're doing ahead of time. And that's just my 2 cents. If you go with Watson, you might win a few more games, but you pretty much, extinguished the future here with Sanders. I don't think you're telling him that he's not, worth playing to see what you have there. So that's just my opinion. Unless you bring in somebody, a clear-cut starter, and I thought that would be Willis. I don't know if they'll go after Kyler Murray or one of the guys that are available like Kirk Cousins or whatever. And so that's what needs to play out and see really what they're thinking.
Yeah, and Kyler Murray is going to end up being a free agent, so he's going to have a choice, which it'll be interesting to see. You wrote another article, and I'm curious to everybody's opinion about this. Could you see the Browns ending up taking a defensive player at 6, and you mentioned like Caleb Downs?
I think at free agency, you really address most of your needs. I don't know if you can, but I certainly am not against this. If you feel Caleb Downs, use him as an example. If you think he's, legitimately a tier above what the guys you have ranked, even if it's wide receiver or tackles, if you think he's a generational player like Ed Reed, we all know what Ed Reed did for the Ravens. You take him and just say, we'll figure it out. They've always said best player available. But if you have Downs or Sonny Styles or Arvell Reese, about the same as Carnell Tate or Mekhi Lemon, then you take the wide receiver or Spencer Fano or Maui Goa or whoever. But if you have a clear-cut choice it comes to you at 6 and there's no question, then you take the player. But last year, I have to think Travis Hunter was, unless they didn't have him as a generational talent at number 2, they chose to trade down 3 spots and get the haul. If they can get that type of haul for somebody that wants a Caleb Downs or Sonny Styles, but not get out of reach to get a position of need, then I could see him doing that. But if they have nobody that would give a lot to move up a little, I would take the generational talent for sure.
Yeah, that's something they're going to have to work through without question. Fred Greetham, as always, great stuff. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Fred.
Always fun, Dave. See what happens.
Fred Greetham, as always, great stuff. Make sure you check him out. Senior analyst for the Orange and Brown Report, always really good and insightful coverage. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. Other side of the break, a Mid-American Conference tournament preview for women's basketball. Women's MAC tournament preview straight ahead on Sports4CLE. Stay with us.
Get ready for action like never before. The 2026 Mid-American Conference Basketball Tournament presented by Credit Union 1 returns to Rocket Arena March 11th through the 14th. Every shot, every steal, every buzzer beater, it all comes down to this. The best of the MAC men's and women's teams battle for glory, pride, and a ticket to the big dance. Feel the intensity, hear the roar. MAC Tournament Basketball. Be there. Tickets on sale now at rocketarena.com.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this special edition of Sports4CLE, where we are previewing the Women's Mid-American Conference Basketball Tournament set to get underway at Rocket Arena. 8 teams arrive with the same goal. Win the tournament, punch your ticket to the NCAA tournament. The bracket is set, and always the path to get there is not going to be easy for any of these 8 teams. The tournament begins Wednesday at 11 on ESPN+. The quarterfinals open up with the top seed, the Miami Redhawks, taking on the 8th seed Kent State Golden Flashes, who have been beat up all season long. So this will be the 3rd meeting of the season, with Miami winning both of the earlier contests. Earlier this month, Miami took down Kent State as they exploded for a 20-6 first quarter lead. The Redhawks continue to lead the MAC in scoring defense by allowing only 58 points per game. For the second quarterfinal of the day, Central Michigan takes on Ohio University. These two teams met only once in the regular season, but it was a good one. Bailey Tabling nailed a 25-footer at the buzzer to send the game to overtime. The Bobcats would eventually win that game by 2, 85-83. For the Chippewas, third-year head coach Kristen Haney has turned this team around. They won 6 games in her first season, 12 in her second, and 18 games in this, her third year. In Game 3 of the quarterfinals, co-regular season champs Ball State takes on Bowling Green. The Cardinals have only lost twice in their last 17 games, both to Miami. On Valentine's Day, Ball State beat the Falcons by 15 by shooting 50% from three-point range. Bowling Green's calling card is their defense. They led the MAC in block shots per game and are second in steals per game. And for the last quarterfinal of the day, Massachusetts takes on Toledo. UMass had a tremendous 15-3 record in their first year in the Mid-American Conference. However, they're only meeting against the Rockets in the regular season. Toledo won by 8 on the road. Toledo made it to the MAC championship last year and are looking to finish the mission in 2026. Now we're going to step aside, take a quick timeout. Other side of the break, we examine the X factors for each team in the Mid-American Conference tournament. You're watching a special edition of Sports for CLE previewing the Women's Mid-American Conference basketball tournament. We'll be right back.
Get ready for action like never before. The 2026 Mid-American Conference Basketball Tournament presented by Credit Union 1 returns to Rocket Arena March 11th through the 14th. Every shot, every steal, every buzzer beater, it all comes down to this. The best of the MAC men's and women's teams battle for glory, pride, and a ticket to the big dance. Feel the intensity, hear the roar. MAC Tournament Basketball. Be there. Tickets on sale now at rocketarena.com.
You got so much to do, it's got you feeling blue. Put a little flag in your day, 'cause it's fun all over the state. So come on, great games wait for you and me, the Ohio Lottery. Put a little flag in your day, put a little flag in your day.
Sports for CLE is an hour of news and discussion specifically for Northeast Ohioans. Browns, Cavs, Guardians, and Buckeyes. Sports for CLE goes in-depth on them all Monday through Friday. Hi, everybody. I'm Dave Bacon. Join me from 4 to 5 weekdays on cleveland.com and YouTube as we go in-depth on Sports for CLE. We'll have the players making the news and the analysts covering it throughout Northeast Ohio. Join me Monday through Friday at 4 on cleveland.com and YouTube for Sports for CLE. Welcome back to this special edition of Sports for CLE, previewing the Women's Mid-American Conference basketball tournament. We just took a look at the quarterfinal matchups. Time to take a look at an X factor for each of those 8 teams trying to punch their ticket to the NCAAs. We begin with the top seed, Miami Redhawks. Tamar Singer has emerged as an important piece for Miami, and that versatility is exactly why she's an X factor in the tournament. Singer can stretch the floor with her shooting, but she also impacts the game with her smart decision-making and strong defensive play. In tournament basketball, players who can contribute in multiple ways become even more valuable. If Singer is knocking down shots, making plays for the Redhawks, Miami becomes a very difficult team to slow down. For the 2 seed Ball State Cardinals, it's Gonzaga transfer Bree Salenbine. Ball State has plenty of scoring options, but Salenbine could be the player who swings momentum in the tournament. Her ability to score from the perimeter forces defense to stretch out, creating space for the Cardinals' offense. When she's confident in knocking down threes, Ball State becomes even more dangerous. If Salenbine gets into a rhythm in Cleveland, the Cardinals' offense can really take off. UMass earned the 3 seed thanks to Yamani McHale. She brings energy and athleticism that can change the tone of a game quickly. McHale is active defensively and capable of creating offense in transition, two traits that can be huge in tournament setting. Her ability to pressure opponents and turn defense into offense gives the Minute Women another spark. If McHale is making plays on both ends of the floor, UMass becomes a much tougher matchup. Central Michigan made an impressive turnaround this year, and a contributing factor was Maddie Morrison. Morrison gives Central Michigan a scoring punch that can make a big difference during tournament play. She's capable of heating up quickly from the perimeter and providing the Chippewas with timely offense. In games where every possession matters, having a player who can knock down big shots is invaluable. If Morrison finds her rhythm in Cleveland, Central Michigan can make a serious run. For the Ohio Bobcats, Bailey Tabling's experience and leadership make her an important X factor. Tabling has the ability to control the pace of the game while she's also creating scoring opportunities for herself and her teammates. In tournament basketball, having a steady presence in the backcourt can make all the difference. If Tabling is distributing, defending, and scoring when needed, Bobcats are a very balanced team. Toledo lost in the championship last year but made it back to Cleveland. Patricia Anumga gives Toledo a powerful presence in the paint. That makes her a key X factor heading into the tournament. Anumga's rebounding and rim protection anchor the Rockets defensively, while her ability to finish inside provides valuable points in the half court. Physical play in the post often becomes even more important in tournament games. If Anumga controls the boards and protects the rim, Toledo will be tough to beat. If Bowling Green wants to steal some victories, they'll look towards the max steals leader in Janaea Donahue's quickness and playmaking to give Bowling Green a spark that can change a game in a hurry. Donahue is capable of pushing the pace, creating offense, and putting pressure on opposing defenses. In a tournament setting where momentum swings quickly, guards who can make plays become extremely valuable. If Donahue is attacking and creating opportunities, the Falcons can generate the offense they need to advance. And finally, don't sleep on Todd Starkey's golden flashes. Maya Babbitt's scoring ability makes her a major X factor for Kent State in the tournament. Babbitt has the confidence to shoot from deep and the skill to create offense when the Flashes need a basket. In tight tournament games, players who can stretch the defense and knock down big shots often become difference makers. If Babbitt gets hot from the perimeter, Kent State's offense becomes very difficult to contain. We're going to step aside, take a quick timeout. When we return, we'll talk about Wednesday for women, something the Mid-American Conference is involved in. Sports4CLE's Mid-American Conference preview for the women's basketball tournament. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Get ready for action like never before. The 2026 Mid-American Conference Basketball Tournament presented by Credit Union 1 returns to Rocket Arena March 11th through the 14th. Every shot, every steal, every buzzer beater, it all comes down to this. The best of the MAC men's and women's teams battle for glory, pride, and a ticket to the big dance. Feel the intensity, hear the roar. MAC Tournament Basketball. Be there. Tickets on sale now at rocketarena.com.
You got so much to do, it's got you feeling blue. Put a little flag in your day, 'cause it's fun all over the state. So come on, great games wait for you and me, the Ohio Lottery. Put a little flag in your day, put a little flag in your day.
Sports4CLE is an hour of news and discussion specifically for Northeast Ohioans. Browns, Cavs, Guardians, and Buckeyes. Sports4CLE goes in-depth on them all Monday through Friday. Hi, everybody. I'm Dave Bacon. Join me from 4 to 5 weekdays on cleveland.com and YouTube as we go in-depth on Sports4CLE. We'll have the players making the news and the analysts covering it throughout Northeast Ohio. Join me Monday through Friday at 4 on cleveland.com and YouTube for Sports4CLE. Sports4CLE Special Edition continues previewing the Mid-American Conference Women's Basketball Tournament. This Wednesday not only marks the start of the Women's Mid-American Conference Tournament down at Rocket Arena, but it's also the 5th annual Wednesday is for Women event held at Rocket Arena in conjunction with the tournament. This year's message is redefining care for active women and athletes, where the panelists will explore a new approach to health care, optimizing performance and overall well-being.
Truly everyone should attend this panel. I mean, specifically, right, if you're an active woman, athlete, consider yourself an athlete, no matter where you are in your competition cycle, where you are in your lifespan, please come, right? I think this is an opportunity to ask questions, right? We hope that this isn't just us going to be talking at you. We want to hear from you, and we want you to feel heard.
On the larger scale, I think it's so important to have this conversation and this panel because historically there's been so much more research surrounding male athletes and looking at the male side of athletic performance and health, and we need to have that same conversation on the female side.
The majority of studies done in sports medicine are done on males, and there's not always a female counterpart. So we still have a lot of work to do and a lot of research to do to truly understand how the woman's body moves, how our physiology is different, how our mechanics are different. And these are things that we're hoping to move forward with research in the field.
In terms of what I think people will gain, I really hope that people get a sense of empowerment, develop curiosity about women, women's health, staying active, staying engaged. I mean, I think everyone wins, right?
Tickets are $30, and the event will take place at 5 p.m. at Rocket Arena this Wednesday, right in the middle of the Mid-American Conference Basketball Tournament. When we come back, it's time for each case on the women's side of the bracket to state their case as to why they can win the Mid-American Conference Tournament and punch their ticket to the NCAA Tournament.
Get ready for action like never before. The 2026 Mid-American Conference Basketball Tournament presented by Credit Union 1 returns to Rocket Arena March 11th through the 14th. Every shot, every steal, every buzzer beater, it all comes down to this. The best of the MAC men's and women's teams battle for glory, pride, and a ticket to the big dance. Feel the intensity, hear the roar. MAC Tournament Basketball. Be there. Tickets on sale now at rocketarena.com.
You got so much to do, it's got you feeling blue. Put a little flag in your day, 'cause it's fun all over the state. So come on, great games wait for you and me. The Ohio Lottery. Put a little flag in your day. Put a little flag in your day.
Sports4CLE is an hour of news and discussion specifically for Northeast Ohioans. Browns, Cavs, Guardians, and Buckeyes. Sports4CLE goes in-depth on them all Monday through Friday. Hi, everybody. I'm Dave Bacon. Join me from 4 to 5 weekdays on cleveland.com and YouTube as we go in-depth on Sports4CLE. We'll have the players making the news and the analysts covering it throughout Northeast Ohio. Join me Monday through Friday at 4 on cleveland.com and YouTube for Sports4CLE. Sports4CLE's special edition previewing the MAC Women's Basketball Tournament continues. When it comes to the Mid-American Conference Tournament, especially on the women's side of things, anything can happen. Not only have 5 different teams won the past 5 years, but we've seen a 6 seed and an 8 seed win the past 9 tournaments. With that being said, here is why every team feels they can win the Mid-American Conference Tournament this year.
This Kent State team has a chance to make a run through the tournament because of a multitude of reasons, but mainly it's because of their off-season schedule. They went through a rigorous off-season which prepared them and propelled them for conference play. Then they battled some injuries, some illnesses, had a lot of different lineups. A multitude of players had to step in, which added to their depth. This is a team with Maya Babbitt, one of the most prolific scorers in the conference. Should she get hot from long range, she's got the ability to attack in the inside, really opens up the floor for what the Flashes want to do. And this is a team that's been there before, incredibly well coached, and if they get things together and get rolling, they really could put together a magical run to collect their second title in just 3 seasons.
Well, there are 3 keys for Bowling Green coming into the Mid-American Conference tournament, and it starts with the transition offense. Bowling Green needs to find that easy offense, not getting caught working deep into the shot clock. Falcons need to get to the basket early and often. Bench production will also be key for Bowling Green. They haven't had a ton of depth this season, but players need to come in and do their part. Then you rely on the trio of guards that have been so key for Bowling Green throughout the season. You start with Paige Kohler, the most experienced Falcon on this team. She has been a double-digit scorer, capable of going to the basket and scoring from the outside. Nate Donahue, possible Mid-American Conference Defensive Player of the Year, also a double-digit scorer. And then Kaya Woods comes over from Akron, her first year in a Falcons uniform, and she loves to push the pace. All 3 of those players can help lead Bowling Green there in Cleveland if the Falcons want to get it done and win a MAC tournament title.
For the University of Toledo women's basketball team, as they enter the postseason tournament in Cleveland, they're going to hitch their wagon to the defensive end of the floor. In terms of scoring defense, they're giving up just over 62 points per game, but that's been better in conference play where they're giving up just over 60 points per ball game. 8 times they've held MAC opponents to under 55 points. They've out-rebounded their opponents 21 times out of the 28 ball games in league play. If Toledo's going to win a championship, it's going to be on that end of the floor because in the tournament play, offensive numbers come down, defense holds serve, and if Toledo can perform at that level, they'll have a chance to win the Mid-American Conference Championship.
Yeah, if Ohio's going to win this tournament, it all starts with their defense. This is a team that's top 20 in the country, right now 15th in the country in steals per game. They love to get out and run. They love to play fast and play in transition. When this team can play in transition, get a quick paint touch, and start shooting threes, that's when you'll see Ohio women's basketball have a lot of success. Again, top 20 in the country in steals per game. They are currently top 5 in the country in threes made per game. They make 10 threes per game, and that's, again, when this team starts to really gel. If you get them in a half-court game, it can be tricky for this Ohio team, but all in all, steals per game, top 20 in the country. Threes made per game, top 5 in the country. They'll get out and run, make threes. It starts with the defense. If they can do that, they've got a shot to do some damage this week in Cleveland.
One of the main reasons I think Central Michigan could win it all this year, the 1-2 punch of Maddie Morrison and Ayanna Sarai Darrington. You're talking about 2 of the most dynamic scorers in the league. One of them, Maddie Morrison, she is the best scorer in the league, averaging 20 points per game, and she is a 3-level scorer. She can do it from the outside, mid-range, or get to the cup. On top of Darrington's high field goal percentage, she is also one of the best rebounders in the league, and you collaborate that with Taylor Anderson, who's even better than she is. So you have great rebounding, and specifically great offensive rebounding with this Central Michigan team. You have great scoring. Now it's just a matter of, can you win 3 games in 3 days? The history is there for the Chippewas. They won this tournament in 2021. They won it in 2018, went all the way to the Sweet 16. Can Kristen Haney's crew do it again in 2026? I think they've got a great shot.
Here's why the Massachusetts Minutewomen are a team to fear at the MAC tournament. This team has a lot of continuity. 4 of their 5 starters and 6 of their top 7 rotation players were all part of this team last year under head coach Mike Leffler, and they play like a strong, connected team. That leads to outstanding defense. This team mixes in a lot of presses, they force a lot of turnovers, and they limit opponents to just 26% from 3, which is far and away the best mark in the conference. They also have the capability to score in bunches 1 through 3. So Ali Palmieri, Yamani McHale, and Megan Olbrys, all averaging in double figures, all are capable of monster games, with Chineye Odenigbo leading the conference in field goal percentage at the center spot. They've taken down the biggest teams in the conference this year in their maiden year in the MAC, and they are a team that has a lot of momentum, courage, and mentality going into this conference tournament. They are excited to take the court and prove that they are right up there with the MAC's best in Cleveland.
Hey everybody, this is Voice of the Cardinals, Mick Tidrow over at Ball State, and I can't wait for the Mid-American Conference Women's Basketball Tournament. Ball State comes in co-champions of the regular season 2 straight years. that the regular season champions and now trying to defend the title that they captured last year in the MAC tournament. This team passes extremely well, one of the best assist teams in the country, one of the best rebounding teams in the nation, and so balanced offensively and defensively. Really excited to see what this group has in Cleveland, Ohio, trying to defend that MAC championship from last season.
Miami's success is traced to last year when they qualified for the tournament, but then were eliminated in the first round. It's been 6 years, and they won 19 games. Now they have 4 starters back from that team, and believe it or not, that's the best in the league. Nobody's got 4 starters back, and they have done a great job all season long as they are at the top of the standings. When you think about it, it was Amber Treader and then sophomore Elsa DeFries. Those two are probably the best post tandem in the league. And you think about how they have played inside, and then they can step out and hit the 3 ball, very flexible. Then you got to get the ball to them, and that is Tamar Singer. She is the sophomore, 200 assists this season. That's a program record. She's top 4 in the country in assists, averaging about 7 a game. Senior transfer Amber Scalia, 3-level scorer, over 1,500 points in her career. She's been a big addition. And then Nuria Horho, one of the top 3-point shooters in the league. And the other thing to build on is defense. Glenn Box certainly has brought it from Indiana. It's a pressure defense, and they are turning people over about 20 a game, and that adds to the offense as well. So you bank on their skill, you bank on their character and their basketball IQ, and then they've got one thought, and that is to win it all. And that's what they intend to do at the MAC tournament.
That's going to do it for this edition of Sports for CLE. I want to remind you can watch all of the Mid-American Conference Women's Basketball Tournament Wednesday starting at 11 o'clock, ESPN Plus. The quarterfinals, all 4 of them will be on ESPN Plus. Congratulations to all the teams reaching Rocket Arena in Cleveland, and best of luck as you battle through this MAC tournament for the chance to represent the conference in the NCAA tournament. We'll see you again tomorrow on Sports for CLE. We will preview the Mid-American Conference Men's Basketball Tournament. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow at 4 on Sports for CLE.